Good morning. Peter Franklin is a Gabby Cabby in New York City.
Peter would know.
Peter was a figure skater himself back in the day. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, good morning. No, I wasn't a figure skater, but I can skate. And speaking of skating, you're not going to go skating much today in New York City. I see that the temperature is going to probably be in the 70s.
You know, Peter, do you remember in the Olympics when, you know how they have figure skating today, and they had it then with Dorothy Hamill and, all that. But remember the one that was really slow where they would come out and they'd have to, a part of their routine also included, and many of the ones that were doing the dancing figure skating that we see today and during the Dorothy Hamill moments. But there used to be that really slow thing where they'd have to make drawings on the ice. Do you remember what that was called?
No, I don't. I think it was called the Old People's Event.
Old People's Event.
Wow,
I think you're right. That was actually what it was called.
You might be right. And Peter, you're, for the first time ever, I can't believe this, telling people not to use the subways in New York City.
Well, you got to be careful, and the fact of the matter is they've become very, very dangerous. The police department seems to be juggling with statistics. They've announced, not so much that I've announced, but they've announced that there's going to be a cop on every train at nighttime because of the different problems that they've been having.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm bringing it to anybody's attention is not to destroy our tourist business, but it seems like the only way to get the cops to do anything is to put the public, spotlight on them, so to speak. So, yes, if the Gabby Cabby is saying something's bad about New York, something must be really bad because, I'm a nut over this city.
I've had a theory on this Hillary Clinton thing, and dealing with compulsory skating and figure skating, I get laughed at when I talk about it. But I'm here to say that I think you may very well have the same opinion as I do, and that is that this Bernie Sanders thing is all part of the Hillary plan.
Oh, absolutely, and I think it's just something that blew up in their face.
Yeah.
They figured that if she just walked in the door and had the nomination, it would look like the fix was in, which it was. So they started looking around to find somebody who could run against her, who wouldn't have a chance in this world.
Right.
And they picked him. Little did they realize that the guy turns out to be somewhat popular. He's doing a very, very good job, and they got a real problem on their hands. I mean, look at the smack in her face. I think I just saw someplace that he won Michigan.
He won Michigan. She went in the polls 16 points ahead yesterday, and he won Michigan. It's really, and I think at some point he's realized, oh my God, I could win. I could win. I could win this thing.
Well, it seems that everybody in New York is connected to New York. I mean, in this thing, he's from Brooklyn originally. She was the senator for 8 years, so she considers herself, I guess, to some extent a New Yorker. Trump certainly is the epitome of being a New Yorker. We got our elbows all over this place.
Hey, New Yorkers do not pay to see losers, and the Nets are. This might be an opportunity for people because you think the Nets are going to be slashing their ticket prices next season.
Yeah, well, they've already announced that they're having a lot of problems, and the thing is really weird. For years they wanted to build a new Coliseum, a new arena in Brooklyn, the Barclays Center. And the Madison Square Garden people just fought against it. And the reason was obvious. They wanted to be the only game in town. Well, eventually Barclays got built. It's a big, beautiful stadium. It's fantastic. Everybody starts going in there for all the different, as far as the venue goes.
Sure.
The Islanders moved over there. The Nets are there. But the Nets aren't producing, and I got to tell you something about a New Yorker. You don't pay to go see losers, and their Nets are having a tough time.
Yeah. What else do I have here that I think is pretty interesting on your? Not that it's all very interesting.
Well, thank you.
What about the? And I've actually been. I was once arrested. The only time I've ever been arrested for spilling a drink in a taxi cab. So
you were
in Atlanta during it was actually in Cobb County. It was very terrible. I had to. I mean, they're very. I was from New York, so it was all over for me. But these Uber drivers are faking messes in the cabs, right?
Yeah, well, okay, this is not an indictment of the whole company or all
Yeah.
Uber drivers. I don't want anybody to think it just happened to be they are Uber drivers because of the system of payment. What happens is when you go into an Uber, you give them a credit card, and then you get your bill in a few days with your credit card statement that says you owe $35 for the cab ride. Well, a bunch of people started getting bills that said $35 for the cab driver, $200 to clean the cab. Whoa, what is that? What clean the cab what? So they call in and they're told that they had thrown up in the cab, and the driver has reported that, and they now owe money for cleaning up the cab. It's the latest scam that the world brings to us. Unbelievable.
And one last thing, the City Taxi and Limousine Commission determined to abolish the requirement that cab drivers be able to do what in New York?
Speak English, and that's kind of great for me in a way because for years I've said tongue-in-cheek, I'm the last English-speaking cab driver in New York.
You have?
Now I guess I'm going to really be the last English-speaking cab driver in New York. It's absolutely insane. I mean, can you imagine getting into a cab in a city as complex as New York and talking to a driver who can't speak English? That's nuts.
It is. I mean, how do you communicate? How will you communicate? You'll have to know how to do the translation. You'll have to have Google Translation right there in the car.
Or maybe we're going to all start carrying, that's an idea, an interpreter. I think they'll have to carry an interpreter with them sitting in the right front seat.
One more way for someone to make money. Hold tight. We got a break, Peter. Thank you so much. It's Gabby.com, best tour in New York City. We'll speak with you again next week, Peter. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
WIBX, Utica, Rome. It's 7 o'clock.